Rain falls on the corner of Penn Avenue and North Lang Street in Pittsburgh's Point Breeze neighborhood. May 14, 1919, 8:47 p.m. Inside the four-story French Renaissance chateau that locals call Green Lawn, 74-year-old Henry John Heinz draws his final breath. Pneumonia has claimed the king of Ketchup. His second-floor bedroom, with its hand-carved mahogany panels and silk damask wallpaper, has become a death chamber. Outside, 37 rooms stand silent. 7 bathrooms with Italian marble. A conservatory filled with orchids that will wither within weeks. A private museum housing Napoleon's carriage. All of it. Every carved newel post, every Tiffany lamp, every mosaic floor tile spelling out his initials will be gone within 5 years. The estate is worth $4 million in 1919 currency. Adjusted for inflation, that's $80 million today. Yet his children cannot sell it. Not for any price. The mansion will be demolished in 1924, razed to the ground, erased from Penn Avenue as if Henry J. Heinz never existed. But to understand how an empire worth billions could end in rubble, we must go back. Back to a brick house in Sharpsburg. Back to a boy with dirt under his fingernails and horseradish root in his hands. Back to the moment when everything began. October 11th, 1844. Birmingham, on Pittsburgh's south side. A neighborhood of German immigrants and brick dust. Frederick Heinz, a bricklayer from Karlstadt in Bavaria, holds his first child. The boy will be christened Henry John, though the family calls him Harry. His mother, Anna Margareta Schmidt from Honedel in Hesse-Kassel, whispers prayers in German over the infant. They have nothing but Frederick's brickyard and Anna's vegetable garden. But in America, nothing can become everything. When Harry is 5, the family moves to Sharpsburg, 3 miles up the Allegheny River. The house is brick. Of course it's brick. Frederick built it with his own hands in 1854. 3 stories, modest, functional. Behind it, Anna plants 8 acres of vegetables. She teaches young Harry to kneel in the soil, to recognize seedlings, to pull radishes without bruising them. He is 6 years old when she sends him down to the Allegheny with a basket of horseradish and vegetables to sell. 6 years old, knocking on strangers' doors. 6 years old, learning that a smile could sell 3 bunches of radishes instead of 2. By age 8, he has his own garden, 3/4 of an acre, which sounds small until you're 8 years old and pulling weeds in July heat. He grows everything. Radishes, beets, onions, cauliflower. But he specializes in horseradish, that fierce white root that makes your eyes water when you grate it. His mother shows him how to wash the roots, scrape them, grind them by hand into a paste that could clear your sinuses from across the room. Every Saturday, Harry fills his basket and walks door to door through Sharpsburg and Allegheny City, selling produce to housewives who soon begin waiting for the Heinz boy. At 12, he's delivering vegetables by wheelbarrow. At 16, he's got a horse and cart, making deliveries to Pittsburgh grocers. He's still in school, still living at home, but already he understands something that most men never learn. People will pay extra for convenience. They will pay to avoid the tedious, knuckle-scraping labor of grating horseradish. They will pay for time. The year is 1869. Henry J. Heinz is 25 years old. He has just married Sarah, Sally, Sloan Young, a Presbyterian girl of Scots-Irish ancestry, on September 3rd. They are deeply in love. This will matter later, when grief comes knocking. But in 1869, they are young and ambitious. Henry forms a partnership with L. Clarence Noble, and together they establish Anchor Brand, selling bottled horseradish, pickles, and vinegar from a factory in Sharpsburg. This is revolutionary. Most horseradish in 1869 comes in opaque brown bottles, and unscrupulous dealers mix it with turnip, adding green dye to hide the fraud. Henry uses clear glass. He wants customers to see the purity. He wants them to trust. The business grows. They add employees. They buy more equipment. They expand into sauerkraut, pickles, vinegar. Everything is building toward prosperity. Henry and Sally have their first child in 1871, Irene Edwilda, then Clarence Noble in 1873. The family is growing. The business is growing. Life is a river flowing toward abundance. And then the panic of 1873 strikes. Banks fail. Credit vanishes. The national economy contracts like a fist closing around a throat. Worse, Henry has overcommitted. He's contracted with farmers to buy their entire cucumber crop at a fixed price, gambling that market demand will stay high. But demand collapses. He's stuck with warehouses full of cucumbers he cannot sell, obligations he cannot meet. By December 1875, Anchor Brand is insolvent. Bankruptcy. The word tastes like ash in his mouth. Christmas 1875. Henry writes in his diary, "No Christmas gifts to exchange." Sally seemed grieved and cried, yet said it was all right and she did not mind it. But I could see she did. They have 2 young children. No money. His business reputation is in ruins. Most men would quit, find a job, work for someone else, accept defeat. But Henry J. Heinz is not most men. He spends the next year in his basement, developing new recipes. Ketchup, pickles, celery sauce, chili sauce. His brother John and cousin Frederick join him, and in 1876, they form F&J Heinz Company. New partners, new beginning, same relentless will. This time, he will not fail. This time, he travels personally to grocers, to retailers, demonstrating products, building relationships. He carries sample cases, offers taste tests, explains the purity of ingredients. His products are more expensive than competitors. But Henry has learned to sell not price. He sells trust. In 1882, he launches tomato ketchup. The recipe is perfect. Tomatoes, vinegar, sugar, salt, spices. Thick, rich, consistent, always the same. American housewives, exhausted from canning and preserving, embrace it. By 1888, Henry has enough confidence to reorganize the company under his own name, H.J. Heinz Company. Now comes a stroke of marketing genius that will echo through generations. The year is 1896. Henry is riding an elevated train in New York City when he spots an advertisement for shoes. 21 styles of shoes. The number strikes him. Clean, specific, memorable, at that moment. The H.J. Heinz Company sells more than 60 different products, but Henry decides on a different number. He chooses 57, because 5 is his lucky number and 7 is Sally's. Heinz 57 Varieties becomes the company's slogan, plastered on every bottle, jar, and advertisement. It is brilliant because it is meaningless and yet unforgettable. The number 57 means nothing and everything. It means abundance, choice, quality. By 1900, everyone in America knows Heinz 57. But business success demands a proper throne. In 1892, Henry purchases a Hopkins Mansion on Penn Avenue in Pittsburgh's Point Breeze neighborhood. Built originally in 1824, the house sits on manicured grounds between North Lang Avenue and Mutland Street, directly next door to industrialist Henry Clay Frick's estate, Clayton. These are not just neighbors. This is Millionaire's Row, where Pittsburgh's titans build monuments to their dominance. The Hopkins Mansion is respectable but outdated. Henry has grander visions. He hires Pittsburgh architect Frederick J. Osterling, already famous for his work on Frick's Mansion and the Bradbury Apartments. The instructions are clear. Transform this house into a chateau that announces permanence, legacy, dynasty. Osterling delivers. The renovation, completed in 1892, reimagines the structure in the French Renaissance style. Francois Premier, to be precise, a direct architectural echo of the Loire Valley chateaus that house French kings. The exterior receives a facelift of brick and limestone, with steep slate roofs, ornate dormers, decorative ironwork, and a grand porte-cochere where carriages arrive under cover. The mansion swells to 37 rooms across 4 stories. Walk through the entrance. The vestibule floor is mosaic tile, and if you look closely, you'll see HJH spelled out in intricate patterns. The hallway beyond opens to soaring ceilings, carved oak paneling, hand-painted frescoes depicting pastoral European scenes. There are 7 full bathrooms, an unheard of luxury in the 1890s. Fitted with imported Italian marble, porcelain fixtures, and hot running water heated by a state-of-the-art boiler system. The main staircase is mahogany, each baluster hand-carved, curving upward like a frozen waterfall. On the first floor, a formal dining room seating 24, with a coffered ceiling and a marble fireplace, so large a grown man could stand inside it. The chairs are upholstered in burgundy velvet. The chandelier holds 48 electric bulbs, electric, because Henry Heinz is an early adopter of Edison's technology, and Greenlawn is one of the first homes in Pittsburgh to be fully electrified. Across the hall, a drawing room with silk damask walls, French furniture, and oil paintings of European landscapes Henry has never visited but deeply admires. There's a library with floor-to-ceiling walnut shelves, a leather-topped desk, and a collection of religious texts and business journals. Henry is a devout Methodist and Presbyterian. He converted for Sally, and his faith permeates the household. The second floor holds the family bedrooms. Henry and Sally's suite overlooks the gardens, with an attached dressing room and private bathroom. The windows have stained glass borders, subtle, not garish, filtering morning light into amber and sapphire. The children's rooms are smaller but no less refined. Carved bed frames, wardrobes, writing desks. By 1892, the Heinz children are young adults. Irene is 21. Clarence is 19. Clifford Stanton, born in 1883, is 9. Howard, born in 1877, is 15. There was a fifth child, lost in infancy, a wound Sally still carries. The third floor contains guest bedrooms and servants' quarters. 12 staff members live in the house full-time. Cooks, maids, a butler, a housekeeper, gardeners. They have their own narrow hallways, their own cramped bathrooms, their own silent routines that keep Greenlawn functioning. Below ground, the basement houses a boiler, cold storage, laundry rooms, and wine cellar. Everything is engineered for comfort and efficiency. Henry Heinz built factories. He understands systems. But the true extravagance lies outside. Henry constructs a private conservatory, a glass greenhouse heated year-round, filled with exotic orchids, ferns, tropical plants. He builds a carriage house the size of most Pittsburgh homes, stabling his horses and storing multiple carriages. And then, the crowning peculiarity, a private museum. Henry has become an obsessive collector. He travels to Europe frequently, acquiring artifacts, furniture, curiosities. He purchases Napoleon Bonaparte's personal traveling carriage and installs it in a specially built wing adjacent to the main house. He collects antique clocks, porcelain, paintings, manuscripts. The museum is part vanity, part education. Henry brings factory workers and their families to Greenlawn on Sundays, offering free tours, teaching them about history and culture. He sees himself as a benevolent prince, sharing his wealth with those who make it possible. The total cost of purchasing and renovating Greenlawn is never fully documented, but estimates suggest upwards of $300,000 in 1892 dollars, equivalent to roughly $9.5 million today. For a man who declared bankruptcy 17 years earlier, it is a staggering reversal. The mansion is not just a home. It is a statement. I built this. I survived. I conquered. Sally loves the house. She plants rose gardens, hosts charity luncheons, welcomes Presbyterian church groups. The mansion hums with life. On warm evenings, the family dines on the terrace, overlooking manicured lawns that stretch toward Penn Avenue. Servants light gas lamps as dusk falls. The children laugh. Sally plays piano in the drawing room. Henry smokes cigars in the library, reviewing factory production reports, planning expansions, dreaming of legacy. But beneath the polished marble, cracks are forming. Sally Heinz dies on March 2nd, 1894. Double pneumonia. She is 50 years old. The doctors do everything they can, but there are no antibiotics, no modern interventions. She coughs, weakens, and slips away. Henry is devastated. They have been married 25 years. She raised his children, supported him through bankruptcy, shared every triumph and failure. Now she is gone. The house echoes with her absence. The rose garden she planted bloom without her. The piano sits silent. Henry throws himself into work with manic intensity. He expands the H.J. Heinz Company aggressively, opening processing plants in New York, Ohio, Iowa, England. By 1900, he employs over 3,000 workers. He treats them well, unusual for the era, offering free medical care, life insurance, dental services, clean locker rooms, lunch facilities, even a company gymnasium. He provides pensions and death benefits. Workers call him benevolent, though modern historians might note that well-treated employees strike less often. Henry is a capitalist, not a saint, but he is a capitalist who reads the Bible daily and believes prosperity carries responsibility. He never remarries. Green Lawn, designed for family warmth, becomes a mausoleum of memory. Henry's children grow up, marry, move out. Irene marries and becomes Mrs. John L. Given. Clarence settles in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Howard becomes vice president of the company. Clifford, the youngest, remains closest to his father. But the house is too large for one aging man. 37 rooms, 7 bathrooms, conservatory, museum, gardens. It requires 12 staff members just to maintain. The heating bills are astronomical. Coal smoke stains the limestone. Henry continues hosting factory workers at the museum. He continues touring the grounds with visitors, explaining the orchids, showing off Napoleon's carriage, lecturing on the importance of cleanliness and purity in food production. He continues living at Green Lawn because leaving would be admitting defeat, admitting that the monument he built has outlived its purpose. Better to stay, better to walk the empty hallways, better pretend nothing has changed. The year is 1904. Henry makes a strange decision. He wants the original Sharpsburg house, the modest brick building where he bottled horseradish in the basement as a boy, moved to the main factory in Allegheny City, now Pittsburgh's north side. He wanted preserved as the house where we began, a museum piece, a reminder to himself and his workers of humble origins. Moving a 3-story brick house is not simple. Engineers devise a plan. Transport by barge down the Allegheny River. On a cold November day, the house is jacked up, loaded onto a flat barge, and floated downstream while crowds line the riverbanks. It is an absurd spectacle, a house sailing down a river, but Henry Heinz has the money to make absurdity reality. The house arrives, is reassembled next to the factory, and becomes a shrine to his past. But shrines to the past often suggest a man who has stopped building the future. May 14, 1919. Pneumonia strikes again. The same disease that took Sally 25 years earlier now takes Henry. He is 74 years old, 6 months short of his 75th birthday. He dies in the second-floor bedroom at Green Lawn, surrounded by carved mahogany and silk wallpaper. His children are summoned. Employees weep. The H.J. Heinz Company controls 20 food processing plants. The estate is worth $4 million. His funeral is held at East Liberty Presbyterian Church, overflowing with mourners. He is buried at Homewood Cemetery in the Heinz family mausoleum, a granite monument fit for an emperor. And then comes the question, what do we do with Green Lawn? Howard Heinz, now president of the company, does not want it. Irene, living in New York, has her own home. Clarence is in Wisconsin. Clifford might have taken it, but he's struggling with his own demons, financial troubles that will lead to his death in 1935. None of them want the burden. They list a mansion for sale. Surely someone will want it. 37 rooms, Penn Avenue address, next door to the Frick estate. Surely some rising industrialists will see the value. But the market has shifted. The year is 1919, tipping into the 1920s. Gilded Age excess is falling out of fashion. The First World War has ended, and younger millionaires prefer modern homes. Smaller, more efficient, less ostentatious. Mansions like Green Lawn require armies of servants, and post-war labor costs are rising. Coal heating is filthy. Property taxes are increasing. The east end of Pittsburgh, while still prestigious, is no longer the center of power. The new wealthy are building in Sewickley, Fox Chapel, suburbs with space and privacy. Penn Avenue mansions are relics. The Heinz children lower the price, then lower it again. They try advertising. They reach out to potential buyers. No one bites. The house sits vacant. Staff are dismissed. The orchids die. Dust accumulates on Napoleon's carriage. The rose gardens tangle into weeds. Windows crack. Copper gutters sag. Rain leaks through the slate roof. Green Lawn is rotting, By 1923, the family admits defeat. The mansion cannot be sold. It cannot even be donated. No institution wants the maintenance burden. There's only one option left: demolition. In 1924, wrecking crews arrive at Penn Avenue and North Lang Street. They strip the mansion room by room. Carved mahogany panels are salvaged and sold. Marble fireplaces are auctioned. Tiffany lamps disappear into private collections. The chandelier with 48 electric bulbs is dismantled. The mosaic floor tiles spelling HH are pried up and scattered. The walls come down. The French Renaissance facade crumbles. The conservatory shatters. Within months, Green Lawn is gone. Rubble is carted away. The land is cleared. The estate that took years to build and cost millions to maintain is erased in weeks. The irony is brutal. Henry J. Heinz spent his life building permanence. Products that would last on shelves, a company that would outlive him, a mansion that would house generations. But the mansion lasted barely 5 years after his death. The land was subdivided and sold. In 1929, a new house is built at 7035 Penn Avenue, on the exact spot where Green Lawn's front entrance once stood. It's a nice house, solid, respectable, but utterly ordinary. No French Renaissance flourishes. No conservatories. No museums. Just another Pittsburgh home on another Pittsburgh street. 2 structures survived. The carriage house, massive and well-built, is converted into a private residence. So is an extension of the private museum. Both still stand today, occupied by families who may not even know they live in fragments of Heinz's dream. The ornate iron fence that once surrounded the estate remains, lining Penn Avenue, perhaps the most enduring physical remnant of Green Lawn's existence. Passers-by walk past it daily, unaware they are brushing against history's ghost. The H.J. Heinz Company, by contrast, thrives. Howard Heinz leads it through the 1920s and 1930s. The brand becomes global. Heinz Ketchup, Heinz Beans, Heinz Pickles. 57 varieties become shorthand for American abundance. By the 21st century, the company is worth billions. In 2015, Kraft merges with Heinz to create Kraft Heinz, one of the largest food companies on earth. The mansion is gone, but the ketchup endures. The man is forgotten, but the brand remains. What does this tell us? That empires are built on products, not palaces. That legacy lives in utility, not architecture. That a bottle of ketchup purchased by a family in Des Moines in 2026 carries more of Henry J. Heinz's impact than Green Lawn ever could. But there is sadness in that, too, because Green Lawn was not just a mansion. It was Henry's attempt to say, I matter. My life was worth something. I will leave a mark that cannot be erased. And for all his wealth, for all his success, that mark was erased. The house where he mourned his wife, raised his children, smoked cigars and dreamed of dynasties, gone. Bulldozed, forgotten. Stand on Penn Avenue today. Look at 7035 Penn Avenue, the ordinary house built on extraordinary ruins. Imagine the 4-story chateau that once stood there. Imagine Henry J. Heinz walking the grounds at dusk, surveying his domain, believing he had built forever. Imagine the orchids and conservatory, the mosaic floors, the mahogany staircase spiraling upward. Imagine the emptiness after Sally's death. Imagine the silence when the children left. Imagine the demolition crews swinging sledgehammers, reducing a lifetime's achievement to rubble and dust. The tragedy of Green Lawn is not that it was demolished. Thousands of Gilded Age mansions have been demolished. Economic realities change, tastes evolve, progress devours history. The tragedy is the speed. 5 years. Henry J. Heinz died believing his mansion would shelter generations of Heinz descendants, that Green Lawn would become the family seat, the ancestral home, the place where great-great-grandchildren would walk the same halls and touch the same carved wood and feel the weight of continuity. Instead, it lasted 5 years, barely long enough for the grief to settle. There's a broader lesson here, one that echoes across every industry, every fortune, every attempt to build permanence. Things are not legacy. Products are not legacy. Buildings are not legacy. Only people remember, and people forget. Henry J. Heinz is remembered today not because of Green Lawn, but because millions of people open bottles of ketchup and see his name. The mansion was an attempt to force remembrance, to carve his identity into stone and say, "You cannot forget me." But stone can be demolished. Ketchup, apparently, cannot. Yet there is something profoundly human in the attempt. Henry built Green Lawn because he was mortal and terrified and desperately hoping that wealth could purchase immortality. It cannot. No amount of marble or mahogany can stop the passage of time. No French Renaissance facade can prevent your children from wanting different lives. No conservatory full of orchids can fill the hole left by a dead wife. Henry knew this on some level. He knew that all the rooms in the world could not bring Sally back. But he tried anyway, because trying is what humans do when faced with the abyss. We build. We accumulate. We decorate. We pretend that if we just build high enough, wide enough, solid enough, we might cheat death. We never do. The H.J. Heinz Company continues operating in Pittsburgh, though ketchup is no longer manufactured there. The factory complex on the north side has been converted into luxury lofts, Heinz lofts, where young professionals pay premium rent to live in repurposed industrial space. The Heinz name remains on Heinz Field, now Acrisure Stadium, home of the Pittsburgh Steelers. There are Heinz scholarships, Heinz endowments, Heinz history exhibits at the Senator John Heinz History Center. The legacy is maintained, curated, monetized, but it is a sanitized legacy, a museum-quality legacy. The messy humanity, the bankruptcy, the grief, the desperate need to build Green Lawn as a shield against mortality is polished away. What remains is a name on a bottle, a number, 57. That means nothing and everything. A story told to business students about marketing genius and benevolent capitalism. And somewhere, buried in municipal archives, a handful of photographs of Green Lawn, grainy, black and white, fading. The house in summer, with rose gardens blooming. The house in winter, with snow on the steep slate roof. The house before the wrecking crews came. These photographs are all that is left. Ghosts on paper. Proof that it existed once for a moment before the world moved on. If you visit Point Breeze today, you will find that Penn Avenue still exists. The old mansions are mostly gone, replaced by modern homes, apartment buildings, a CVS pharmacy. But the neighborhood retains a kind of faded grandeur, like an elderly aristocrat who still dresses for dinner even though no one is coming. The Frick Estate, Clayton, has been preserved as a museum. You can tour it, walk the halls, see how the other half lived. But Green Lawn? Nothing. Not even a historical marker. Not even a plaque. Just the iron fence, rusting gently, outlining a ghost. And that perhaps is a real finale. Not tragic. Not triumphant. Just quiet. The kind of ending that comes when the world forgets to care. Henry J. Heinz built an empire, built a mansion, built a legacy. The empire became Kraft Heinz. The mansion became rubble. The legacy became ketchup. And somewhere in that transformation, the man himself, the boy who sold horseradish door to door, the bankrupt entrepreneur who rebuilt from nothing, the widower wandering 37 empty rooms, faded into the background. A name, a number, a bottle on a supermarket shelf. Money can build castles, but it cannot make them last. Success can buy monuments, but it cannot force remembrance. Henry J. Heinz learned this too late. Or perhaps he always knew and built Green Lawn anyway, a final act of defiance against the inevitable. Either way, the mansion is gone. The ketchup remains. And we are left to decide which one matters more. Stand on Penn Avenue. Close your eyes. Imagine the chateau. Imagine the orchids. Imagine the mosaic floors. Imagine Henry J. Heinz, 74 years old, dying in his second-floor bedroom while rain falls on Green Lawn's steep slate roof. Imagine his last thought. Did I do enough? Will they remember? They remember the ketchup. The mansion is forgotten. And perhaps that is the saddest truth of all.